Formatting. Welcome to the Movie Club. I'm JT.
And I'm Rehana. Today we're going to be reviewing Dune.
That's right, the new version of Dune, directed by French director Denis Villeneuve. Starring an impressive cast, led by Timothée Chalamet.
Weirdly enough, the guy that emotes the least in this movie, despite being the main character, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when you're up against actors like Oscar Isaac, like Javier Bardem, like Stellan Skarsgård, it is perhaps going to be hard to you know, really compete. But you're right, he is relatively emotionless in the role, young Timothy.
And who could really blame him? Because the entire Dune series, if you've ever had the chance to read the novels, is basically about a messiah figure trying to come to terms with being a messiah figure, but at the same time not being as interesting as the people around him, right?
That's right. This is the latest version of the White Jesus story.
Dad, what if I'm not the future of House Atreides?
A great man doesn't seek to lead. He's called to it. But if your answer is no, you'll still be the only thing I ever needed you to be. My son.
Originally written by Frank Herbert way back in the 60s, and look, some of it shows, to be honest. I know this is a movie that has polarised audiences, and I think it might have polarised this movie club. So, Rehana, how did you feel about Dune?
Look, I'm a massive fan of Dune. Despite the whole space Arab, white man coming to save us sort of thing, I thoroughly enjoyed the world building, and I thoroughly enjoyed the look and the feel and just the bleakness of the entire movie. Also mixed in with a sense of hope, which is essentially what the entire book series is about. I loved it. I loved seeing long sweeping shots of dunes, and I loved all of the really kooky design work, and they really made it look alien while at the same time made it look quite like something that humanity might aspire to in like 2000 years.
God in heaven.
Get everything with guns off the ground! Go!
On the other hand, it's not really hard sci-fi. There's a lot of people with magic powers, and they pretend it's sci-fi. And there's definitely a lot of mispronunciations of traditionally Arab words, like Mahdi, for example. It's not Mahdi, guys, it's Mahdi, pronounce it properly. I think they were interesting in their casting as well, in that they avoided actually casting any Arab people.
Yeah, I mean, you know, chief of the Arab tribe is Javier Bardem, and Zendaya is the other major character in that sort of Fremen tribe, I believe.
Fremen, which are based on the Bedouins, in Saudi Arabia and in Arabia at the time. And it's interesting where on the one hand I do want to be slightly offended by the entire thing, but on the other hand it was so beautifully shot and so true to the books. I was telling a friend that if this was Lord of the Rings, they would have kept Tom Bombadil in this movie, because they've hit...
They kept everything in this movie.
They didn't cut anything, and I guess that could quite make it boring to some people.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you love this movie, I think I hated this movie.
Oh, no.
And look, up front, I don't have a great connection with the Dune franchise. I've read the first novel, and I thought it was okay. I don't have fond memories of the first film, apart from Sting's great performance in his leather bikini. That was 5-star. But look, this current version, as you say, includes everything. It takes its time. And as a result, it is glacially slow. This movie is 2 hours 40-ish, and is part 1. So, which isn't revealed until the end, mind you. They didn't tell you that going in.
They cut it halfway. I mean, do you sort of feel like it's the Fellowship of the Ring to the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Do you sort of hope that maybe the next one is a bit better?
Look, I would hope so. I mean, I think the action has to increase in the second half, or what you're going to end up with is a 5.5, 6 hour travelogue of sand dunes.
My planet Arrakis is so beautiful when the sun is low. Rolling over the sands, you can see spice in the air.
And look, there are absolutely things to recommend this film. The cinematography by Greg Fraser is absolutely amazing. This is a film to be seen on the big screen if you have a spare 3 hours and don't care too much about plot moving forward rapidly.
Look, it's a lot like the book where a lot of the action takes place where two people just talk to each other, and it happens a lot in their heads, and there's all of the subtext that they're trying to fit into at the same time. And this movie has none of that because it's a visual medium. I think on rewatch, a lot of people will enjoy it a lot more, but if it's one of those rare movies where, you know how when they make something from a book and it like angers the fans and like befuddles the non-fans? This is the one time where the fans are happy with it, but the non-fans are like, maybe they could have done a better job introducing the subject matter.
Yeah, and look, credit to Villeneuve for making a movie for the fans. I do always appreciate that. It's interesting, I rewatched his previous film, Blade Runner 2049, and I enjoyed that a lot more on the second run through, as you suggested, because he does direct with such a deliberate pace, and his use of visuals is amazing. I mean, the contrast of the neon and sort of colour in that to the sort of shades of brown in Dune, I think, is very interesting. But again, it is a film perhaps I wasn't in the right sort of mellow mindset to enjoy.
Despite, I would say, outright hating the movie, JT, were there any standout performances that made the 3 hours bearable for you?
There were indeed. Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor, I think, in everything I've seen him in, and really, I think, was head and shoulders above the rest of the cast as Leo Atreides. I thought Jason Momoa was okay.
A boy.
Hey, Duncan, can I trust you with something?
Yes, always. You know that.
I've been having dreams about a girl on Arrakis. I don't know what it means.
Dreams make good stories. But everything important happens when we're awake. Hey, you. Put on some muscle?
I did?
No.
Zendaya and Javier Bardem were literally cameos. I would have loved to see their characters more, but, you know, they were seen in flashbacks and dreams and in the distance, and that, again, speaks to the representation in this movie to me. This is a movie about different tribes of white people warring
Over a planet of brown people,
that's right.
Made of drugs.
Look, parable for the modern age, I guess, as relevant now as it was 60 years ago.
Well, I mean, this is definitely one of those movies you want to wait for the sequel for before you watch, just because there's so much mythos. On the other hand, I'm a massive nerd, and after watching the first movie and planning to watch it again, I'm definitely going to go down that rabbit hole of the whole background of Dune, and I'm probably going to buy the table book of the character design and stuff like that, because the design to me is just stand out in this movie. It's not over the top like when you think of science fiction movies, like we think about Fifth Element, and it's all very out there and very futuristic. This movie feels like something that, again, could happen in 2,000 human years' time.
It does feel relatively grounded, you know, in the context of what it is. So,
I reckon go and see it.
Look, if you're going to see it on the biggest screen possible, would be my recommendation, because it is a feast for the eyes, if perhaps not for the brain.
Not yet. I'm holding out for that second movie. Thank you so much for joining us for our review of Dune.
Good to see you, and this is the Movie Club. We will see you again soon.
See ya.